Assalamu alaikum and peace for all. Dear viewers, welcome to the first episode of ReBridges, a potential television series that aims at interacting and connecting with the intelligentsia and the academia of the Muslim world. I am your host from Pakistan, Rizwan Mumtaz Ali. Viewers, as the name suggests, in ReBridges, we will attempt to build new thought bridges and mend the old ones in order to plug or replug the intellectual, political, social, and cultural gaps that presently exist in the Muslim world. In this quest, we will introduce you to accomplished Muslim men and women, thinkers and academicians, rendering outstanding services to their countries and communities. We'll be talking to them on real matters, matters that are faced by the 1.97 billion Muslims of the world today, and get their takes on collective and individual issues that are central to today's Muslim world. In ReBridges, through our discussions with these accomplished Muslims coming from different Muslim countries, we will aim to build a meaningful platform for exchange of wisdom and knowledge, and to seek possible solutions to the problems prevalent in the Muslim world. Viewers, today we are honored to have with us Dr. Recep Şehitoğlu from Turkey. Dr. Recep is a PhD in political science and international relations. He is a faculty member at Gaziantep University, Istanbul, and Vice Dean at the Faculty of Economic and Administrative Sciences in Elbab, Syria. Besides his professional life, Dr. Recep Şehitoğlu is also a social activist. He is a founder, board member in non-governmental organizations such as the International Union of Relief Quran Services, Pakistan-Turkey Friendship Association, and South Asia Strategic Research Center. Dr. Recep Şehitoğlu, I welcome you to ReBridges.
Assalamu alaikum.
Dr. Recep, my first question to you is that, as someone said, let's make bridges, not walls. The world we live in today is getting polarized day by day. Unseen walls are being built where bridges were needed. This does not bode well for any and all of us. My first question to you is that in this polarized world, where the Muslim world is caught in the crossfire between Western influence and our homegrown radicalism, how do you see the Muslim world coming out of this critical global political crisis? And what should be the way forward?
Assalamu alaikum again. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think the world is right now faces too much challenges. I mean, even Islamic world or even the Western, so everywhere in the world is right now living in a chaos system. So the international system should be renewed. I mean, should be rethinking either in Islamic side, either or in the Western side. So let me go some problematic issues in Islamic world. So if we compare Islamic world with the Western relations, I mean, we see that Islamic world should know the West well, very well. We have to know the West very well first. So today's modern world is based on the philosophical and religious understanding of the West. Why? We have to change it. We have to change it as Muslim world, So in addition, when we go to the Greek philosophy and Roman law, the institutions that the crush put the agenda of the human family in the West should be well known. So the first one is for Islamic person. I mean, for the Islamic world, we have to know the Western philosophy first. I mean, then the it is possible to develop a relationship between the West and the East. So we have to first analyze. I mean, a very good analysis we have to do. I mean, that is the one. When we go to the European side, their histories is a colonial history. So the colonial history is the key concept here. In addition, the Muslim mind should be considered the history of humanities, common civilization with the holistic approach. So Western civilization affected the East, and the East Islamic civilization is also affected the West. So there are transitions and interactions together. So an understanding based on entirely on rejection, denial, and hostility prevents us from understanding the West. So on the other hand, in contrast to Oriental studies, Occidental studies should also be gain momentum in the Eastern and Islamic world, as I say.
Talking about the Western civilization, the clash of civilizations paradigm propounded by Huntington. This paradigm has somehow dominated the Western mindset, especially the Western political mindset. And we can see the right-wing parties in Europe gaining victory in elections and riding on an anti-Islam sentiment or an Islamophobic sentiment. In such an environment, how can the Islamic world come to grips with the realities of the Western civilization of the past and then create a relationship that is workable and equally beneficial to both the Islamic world and the Western world?
Okay, thank you for this question, because the fight in Islamophobia is very intensive nowadays in international arena, because in the Western we see that the Islamophobia is arising and the right-wing parties is arising as well. So in the West we see this. But when we go further to the Islamophobia, the civilization should be reanalyzed, because as we believe that as Muslims, civilization starts with the Islam. When you go to our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ time in Medina, the civilization starts at that time, because the Medina is the city of civilization. So the fight against Islamophobia nowadays is a very difficult process. I mean, the major media organizations, manage the world public opinions. Western-based think tanks organization is also, and social media networks is also manage the Islamophobia perception. So as Muslims, we have to taught this job in this regards. I mean, the institutions, both state institutions and non-governmental institutions or organizations, associations, foundations, think tanks, they have to work together to get rid of from the Islamophobia, because Islamophobia is Islam is the last religion in the world, and if all people comes together with the Islam religion, so they will live together in very peaceful level. So at this point, let's go to in detail. I will explain you some think tanks. In the international relations arena, because the governments are using this social media as well. The think tanks organizations as well to go further to influence the people. So when we go to in detail in think tanks, because we believe that the main land of the think tanks is US, United States. I will give you some figures about the think tanks, because it is very important to understand the Western philosophy. Because in the US, this is the 2020's number. So in the US, 2023, 2,203 think tanks. And in China, 1,413. India is 612. United Kingdom, 515. When you see the Turkey, we have 53. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, we have 33.
Yeah.
So think about the numbers. So the numbers are saying something to us. So even in many Islamic countries, because there are two media channels. I mean, let's say in Turkey, we have Fox TV, which belongs to United States. So they are in the hands of foreigners. I mean, in some media organizations located in Turkey, even in Pakistan, maybe. And in other Muslim countries, the media organizations, the non-governmental organizations, I mean, have been used by the Western to get into in Muslim worlds, to change the ideas, to change the minds. So we have to prepare ourselves as Muslim countries to use these instruments to influence our people's mind. So we have to prevent the Western influences. So reserving this perception, I mean, the perception of by using internet, TV, newspaper, I mean, is not only a small part of the job. This is the big part of the job, because you have to
Rajab,
minimize it.
Rajab, excuse me if I'm butting in.
Yes.
But let's face the fact that the skill and the ability of the Western media is far greater and far superior than our media skills and media abilities. Their
Of course.
content has all the elements that are embedded in the Western mind, and they resonate with the Western mind. And when they bring those elements through their media into the household of a Muslim family, the essential doctrines that are promoted through those channels, or through the voices that are influenced by the West, they essentially promote the Western democracy. Then they essentially promote their own brand of human rights, where LGBTQ is also considered to be now an essential human right, let alone the various prejudices and biases that they hold against the Muslims at large, and then these individual Muslim countries. Now, in this age where the social media is dominating the airwaves, and the electronic media has certainly been playing a very influential role in changing the mass mindset. Somehow, we seem deficient there. Case in point, the recent Football World Cup held in Qatar. Now, Qatar being an Islamic country, and hats off to the government and the people of Qatar for observing Islamic tenets and keeping their society as a temperance society, not allowing alcohol to be served in Qatar, and similarly not allowing players and the spectators who come from the various Western European and American countries to wear an armband in favor of the LGBTQ cause. Now, when this was done, this was like adding insult to injury for them, it seemed, because we saw that the BBC, which is the official television channel of the United Kingdom, while they were giving their reports on the matches taking place in the arenas, they were also at the same time talking about the inhuman treatment meted out to the expat workers, talking about the human rights issues in the Middle East, and more importantly in Qatar. And this was being seen not just by the Western audiences, but also by our Eastern audiences and Muslim audiences. Now, given this fact, with their strong interest and with their dominance in the space, with the help of their satellites and their dominance through their television channels in Muslim countries, you've cited how can we at this point in time decide that by when we will be able to neutralize their impact and be able to create an impact which will be far more neutral than it is today?
Yeah. So I believe that the negative conditions such instability, I mean the poverty and lack of education in internal structure of some Islamic countries are full of terrorism, unfortunately. The violence and ignorance in these countries, making it easier for bad pictures to emerge in the name of Islam. So we need to start to struggle by correcting these mistakes first in ourselves, perhaps by making a little self-criticism without struggling against poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance. That is part of the job. I mean, so more prosperity to more democracy and more stability are the critical keys to that will work for us. The necessity of the correct understanding of Islamic perceptions, keys that will work for us. For us, the religion, I mean, perception and religion is a separate issue. So in Islam, it is clearly stated that which areas and when violence will be used. I mean, apart from these legitimacy limits, Muslims need to review their relations with violence and terrorism. So we have to prepare ourselves. We have to come together to fight first. This misunderstanding. So Islam countries are, according to West, Islam countries are equals to the terrorism. So it is wrong. We have to change this mind as well. So nowadays, for the Western, it should not be forgotten that it is a big education problem as well. So the Muslim countries have big education problems. The first against Islamophobia, in the world, which is produced in the Western public opinion, will be possible with the realization of mutual intellectuals and some scientific commercial activities. Some societies getting to know each other better. The scientific level, economic level, political structure organized in Islamic countries can reserve some perceptions. By conducting lobbying activities in Western countries, using widespread media channels more and more, and by establishing global broadcasting networks and reaching more people, but they will pour on humanity through Western-based media channels. So it is possible to fight Islamophobia. It is possible to fight against Islamophobia, not only through influential politicians, and world-renowned intellectuals and artists. Unfortunately, I believe that in this process, there is almost no head of state, who objected to these dirty global systems. So system is, right now, the global system is very dirty at the level of head of states in international meetings, in every level. So to fight and to minimize, to get rid of from this kind of Islamophobia, the dirty things that Western says that it is belonging to the Islam, so it should be clearly, defeated.
This also highlights the incapacity of the heads of governments in the Islamic countries,
of course,
who've not been able to really represent their people in the international fora and be able to do away with those biases and prejudices that are rampant today in the Western mindset. But having said that, what really concerns me is that you and I, as individuals, want that we should be able to grapple this situation and change that mindset which is currently prevailing in the West towards Islam and the followers of Islam. But we are individuals, and with limited resources, we can obviously pool in. NGOs can also come in. Even the governments can come in. But that one forum, like for instance, the Organization of Islamic Conference, what role is the OIC playing here? And if the OIC, as I said earlier, if it is unable to come up to the role that it was associated with at the time of its inception, then what other alternate or parallel mechanism can we evolve which has its resources, both human and material, and be able to put up something materially?
Yeah, thank you. Because we have Islamic Bank, Arab Union, the Islamic Development Bank, and nowadays we have also, it is come to the international arena, the Organization of Turkish States, which is Pakistan is not involved right now because it is Turkish States Council. But we have to create some mechanisms to fight against this kind of, huge problems, because we have to first educate our people. Everything starts with the education, even from primary level, in the middle school and high school, and at the university level as well. So we come to the youth problems as well in the Islamic world, because if we have to fight against Westernism, Western mind, we have to prepare ourselves in every level. Educational level, intellectual level, cultural level, sports, arts, music.
But
Every
resources,
level of this.
where
The
are the
resources
resources?
should be created. Resources should be created by the government of Islamic countries. That's my proposal. The government, the state level, every Muslim country, and the civil organizations of the Islamic countries, you can put the foundations, you can put in the civil initiatives, you can put the think tanks, you can put every civil academics as well. Should be should be work in a parallel. In a synchronized level. That is the maybe that can give a solution.
See, what you're visualizing is it basically boils down to a movement that is carried out in the entire Islamic world, and where the governments and the people both come on the same page. But with the various divisions within the Islamic world, how do you see the Islamic world in totality being able to respond to these challenges?
Unfortunately, it is very hard right now, because every Muslim countries have their own problems. They have to first, get rid of from their problems first. Then they need to come together to fight against. They have to create some mechanisms as well. I mean, there's a study area in international relations. We say public diplomacy. In general, we say soft power. So public diplomacy can be made from state level, and in two ways. It is running by two levels. One is from state level. From state to the people. The second one is from people to people. So all Islamic countries, public diplomacy should work in a parallel, in a synchronized, level. They have to. That is my, proposal. The youth of the Islamic countries, they have to have the equality of the opportunity in education should be provided for the youth in all Islamic countries the first. maybe they can open, some special
The
programs.
Constitution of Pakistan. Education is a
Yes.
fundamental right of every citizen.
Okay.
And yet,
Mhm.
there are millions of children who are either dropouts or have never gone to school. And today, in the 1.97 billion Muslims of the world, almost 70% are youth. And out of that 70%, most of them are either of school going age or of a secondary school or a higher level education. They need to go there. And yet, there are no serious efforts to bring them to schools, to give them education. And whatever is being done to impress the World Bank, which sends a certain loan in the name of education. And otherwise, education itself, in the Islamic world, is a great reason of social division, where we have in Pakistan an English medium system and an Urdu medium system, where the Urdu medium system, the students studying under the Urdu medium system will never have the opportunities that will be available to the students who would be studying under the English medium system. And that goes for the rest of the Islamic world as well, because only the moneyed can really afford quality education, not just locally, but also when the decision comes to send children abroad. It is not affordable for the common man or for even somebody who belongs to the middle classes. Now, having said that, there was a time when education in the Islamic world was imparted through the madrasa. And the madrasa was not only a place where religious education was imparted, the madrasa was a place where the worldly education was also imparted. If we look at the great Muslim scientists who came between the 11th and the 13th centuries, most of them had studied in madrasas. Now, is our leaning towards the Western style of education really important, or do we need to improvise and indigenize or Islamize our education system in a way that we devolve it back to madrasa?
Yeah, in both my decision. I advise in both, because we have to get first the modern education. So our people, our youth, should be more modern educated. And then the second one.
What if we modernize the madrasa?
The madrasa is also the important one. They have to also, they have to also get the madrasa education. So we have to combine. So a Muslim young must know Islamic madrasa education. The history, from the history to now. And the second, he also get the best. Modern education. So this one that can be that can some governments. The Islamic governments can do. They have some homework. They have to do their homework very well, because for the Islamic youth in the youth population in Islamic countries should be should be taken to the education system, even in the country or outside of the country. The special programs should be developed, and access of educational opportunity should be, given to all Islamic youth. So this one, for this, the Islamic countries, they have to, create a mechanism to support them by economically, because youth considered as the human resource of radical terrorist organizations should be directed to education. than arts, sports, and cultural activities. Because in regions or countries that are unstable under the fear of terrorism, young people should be allowed to receive education abroad if necessary. And for example, many students come to Turkey from Somalia every year, or even from Pakistan. I mean, young people who do not want to be couched in the network of, in Somalia, let's give you an example. Young people who do not want to be couched in the network of Shabab organization, they follow the education opportunities abroad. For example, Islamic countries need to be more proactive and at the level of education diplomacy. So normally, when education diplomacy is mentioned, the countries such as United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, and France can come to mind. But these countries are preferred by the students from Islamic countries. At this point, Islamic countries should take a more active role to keep their youth within the Islamic ecosystem.
See, that's where
So countries such as
that's where the real challenge is, because see, name one university that an Islamic Muslim, name one country in the Muslim world which is ranked in the first 100 universities of the world. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct. Even in 500 lists, even in 500 lists, we do not have good universities.
So this shows.
But this should be rethinking about the education, rethinking of the institution. Rehabilitate. We have to rehabilitate our education systems. So I give you some numbers. I will give you. So the countries such as Turkey, Pakistan, and Malaysia should be preferred by the destinations for young people in Islamic countries. In this context, the work should be done. For example, Turkey right now has made a serious strides at this point, because especially from the 2010 to right now, Turkey is having right now 6,000 international students from all over the world. There is a target for this figure to be 350,000 by next year. So this is Turkey's target, but this can be also done from other countries as well, our Islamic countries as well, because we have to we have to provide them some economical, social, support. Let's go in detail. Let's say that the youth of Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, and Somalia are especially close to followed by the terrorist organizations. So we have to take them them from their hands. In addition, let's go in detail. If the youth in some Islamic countries cannot be prepared by the future without solving the problems of poverty, because we are going to go, if we think about the education abroad, the first obstacle for us is the poverty. And if the opportunities such as education and job, where they can stand on their own feet, they cannot be provided with domestic resources. So organizations such as Islamic Bank, Arab Union, Islamic Development Bank, the other Islamic institutions, even at state level, even in international level, even in civil level, should take care of this job, because they have to provide money support. Maybe you heard it. In US, there is a cultural exchange program, work and travel program. Maybe you heard it. So I was the one who applied this program at 2006 when I was in my undergraduate program. I applied that program, and they accept me. And I went to the US. I stayed in Virginia for 4 months in the summertime, because the program says that you have to work in a period, 5 days in a month, in a week, 8 hours. So then we are going to provide you a job. So we are going to give you a small salary. I mean, $7 per hour. But what it is, the main idea of the United States, what was for it? It is going to change the culture. I mean, they change the minds, because you have to, if you go to US, you see how people are living, how they eat, where they live. I mean, the houses, the cars. I mean, the US wants to show its, I mean, image. So the image should be changed. So we can also prepare cultural exchange programs between Islamic countries. You know, Erasmus program we have in European Union. So Erasmus is also a kind of program to change the the Islamic people's mind. I mean, because 28 countries in the Europe, they are accepting from the students from Turkey and the other countries as well. I mean, not only in Turkey. So you are going to go to Europe to stay at least 6 months to see what are they doing. I mean, you are going to university, but you are the government, the state wants to show you where I'm living, what is my country, where is my country, my education system, my cultural system, my living standards. I mean, it is going to be it is a public diplomacy activity as well in international relations. So if you use this tool to change the mind, you have to, create a budget. I mean, it is a big budget.
This
I mean,
subtle
so
indoctrination needs
yeah,
a humongous budget. Unless we have
of course,
the
it is
financial
tremendous.
wherewithal, this dream will look good on a piece of paper. But in order to translate this dream into reality, what we need is huge financial resources and as well as
Sure.
human resources. Now, my last question. We've discussed,
Yeah.
spoken at length on the problems, the challenges that the Muslim world confronts. But then there are certain problems which the world confronts, the world as a whole confronts. And then once again, these problems are seriously challenging the Muslim countries. And when I say the Muslim countries, I include not only Pakistan in them, but also countries in North Africa, in the Middle East. And that amongst those problems, the biggest problem, an existential problem of the time is climate change. Pakistan, Muslim countries in North Africa and in the Middle East, they are facing this climate change phenomena, and we are greatly threatened by this phenomena. Seasons are changing, crops are getting confused, they do not know when to grow now, when to bear fruit, and yet we are indulged in other matters. And there is the climate change phenomena that is already here. How do you think that the Muslim countries can chalk out a course of action which can help mitigate and reduce the impact of climate change today and in times to come?
Yeah, this is also a big issue to discuss, because sometimes I fear to to tell something, because to my opinion, the climate change issue is a Western hoax. I believe it, because the world's superpowers, console the rest of the world with such kind of arguments. The powers, to me, the powers that do not want Islamic countries to have a more productive economic structure are creating a virtual agenda by using climate issue as an excuse. I mean, the West acts as if its own agendas, are very clean on issues such ozone emissions and carbon emissions. However, the trees cut by big tire companies, energy companies, and giant production mechanisms in the Amazon forests are incalculable. So during this industrialization period, the Western world caused the greatest damage to the ecosystem.
Yes, it does.
Considering the volume of the cosmetic industry in the world, many imperialist Western states and companies, especially in France, have both sins and plagues in this regard. So Western states have paved the way for major cosmetic manufacturers in terms of ozone release. So now they are telling us that you do not industrialize, the climate is endangered at the global level. So seeing this in the sincerity in here, it has come essential, for Islamic countries to make serious breakouts, in critical sectors such as clean energy sources, less pollution, industrialization, defense industry, food, informatics, software, biotechnology, and nuclear power. So the climate change is not changing. The only thing that has changed in the world has changed the discourse, rhetoric that will prevent the progress and lack of backward societies. So if we are talking about the global climate change, the biggest culprit is the Western world. The issue of climate change is an imposition and deception for me.
I couldn't agree more with you that the West has caused this environmental catastrophe of the sorts
Yeah.
in the world. But here in Pakistan, we have more than 5,000 glaciers. And in the last 10 years, most of those glaciers have thawed, they've receded. And therefore, we are experiencing flash floods. The floods this year were one of the most devastating in our recorded history. And Pakistan has sustained a loss of over $30 billion. And this is a conservative estimate. Now, that loss is material. And we are told that this is a manifestation of the climate change phenomena. And this is going to continue.
Yeah.
And then there are further indications being predicted as to what will happen in the future. Having said that, I think that we as Muslims in the Muslim world need to be connected more often. We need to have an exchange of views and ideas on these vital issues more frequently so that a collective mindset can be evolved. My very last question to you would be about the youth in the Islamic world.
Mhm.
What expectations do you have ascribed, or what expectations do you have towards the youth, and how do you envisage the role of Islamic youth in the coming?
The Islamic youth, you're asking about the Islamic youth
Yeah.
can involve.
In the individual societies and communities, and as well as in the global context at large.
I think everything starts with the family, from their family. Because we have to take an example for us, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So his life is very important. So that should be our role, because our prophet was a person, and then he became a prophet. After 40 years old, and then from 40 years old until he died, he ruled the state. the Islamic State. So every level of his life should, is saying something to us, because we have to, grow up. We have to, tell our all the young people, from our son and daughters, starting from them, because they have to be in the society. The family is very important issue right now, and the man and the woman in the, mother and parents is also having a, big role to raise the children. So everything should be start from the family level, and then from the society level, in the society, and then outside of the society, because a Muslim young should be integrated, to the world, and in the even in the society.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Dr. Rajab. I'll conclude this session with what the poet of the East, Allama Iqbal, said. Learn again the lessons of truth, bravery, and justice, for you are destined to lead the world once again. I thank you and goodbye. This was Dr. Recep Şehitoğlu, and we spoke on different issues that the Muslim world confronts today. He gave some splendid insights into how we can get out of the crises that we are in today. I hope that in our subsequent programs, we'll be talking to similar men and women from the Muslim world who will share their wisdom and knowledge with us. And all this is meant to pave our collective as well as individual ways forward towards an existence which is in total sync with our faith as well as the needs of the day. Thank you, and our message to all is that peace for all and all for peace.